For the same reason, the effect of a homeopathic dose of medicine increases. Okay? Now, the reason is the same, which we have done in the previous part, where we have a liquid medicine. So, with that reasoning, with that thing in our mind, we will go forward. For the same reason, the medicine of a homeopathic dose of medicine increases the greater the quantity of fluid in which it is dissolved when administered to the patient. So, the effect of the medicine increases. For example, if you put one drop in a glass of water and you tell the patient to take, like some part of the water or the whole part or something like this. If you're giving it in the fluid form, if it is you're giving, putting the medicine in some kind of fluid, and then you are administering, the effect of the homeopathic dose, it will increase. Although the actual amount of medicine it contains remains the same. The medicine remains the same, but if you put one drop in a one glass of water, the quantity is same, but its effect will change. For in this case, when the medicine is taken, it comes in contact with a much larger surface of sensitive nerves responsive to the medicinal action. So one globule comes in contact with less number of nerves when it is acting. So it is stimulating very few nerves, and then those nerves take the message to the whole body. When the medicine is given in a form of liquid, the surface area increases. When it is ingested, when it is taken in the form of fluid, the surface area increases and the more nerves are stimulated. So that is why even if you are taking the same amount of this dose, for example, you take one globule directly and you dissolve one globule in a cup of water, okay, the amount of medicine will remain the same, but the one you are taking in a glass of water, in a cup of water, this water, the medicinal power will be increased. So there are chances of aggravation there also. Okay, the power will be more strong. Although theorists may imagine there should be a weakening of the action of a dose of medicine by its dilution with a large quantity of liquid, experience asserts exactly the opposite at all events when the medicines are employed homeopathically. So he's saying that although the person who is a theorist is a person who believes in certain theory without making any kind of experience or experiment about it. So he's saying that theorists might believe that when we are diluting something, the power will decrease. But he says that when in experience, when it is tried, when it is done, and our medicine is homeopathic, you have a different kind of experience. You have an experience that the homeopathic power has increased, although the quantity is same, but the power has increased. And he has given a reason for that, that the larger surface area, it covers a more larger surface area of the nerves and more nerves are stimulated, and that is why the body reacts or produces a secondary action accordingly. So I have seen many doctors saying this thing, that you should use although the next aphorism will be an answer for next or next to next, that you know we will be more clear. But I have seen some doctors who say that you should take give the patient the medicine in liquid form or this thing. But Dr. Hahnemann here cautions us about it, that it will increase the and I have myself tried this thing once on myself and once on my patient, and I have seen that difference. The kind of homeopathic aggravation it produces, it is always in on increased form. Although when you are in a healthy state or not into a very deep state of disease, it will not have a worse effect or a damage to the health, because the body or the vital force recovers to it quickly. But yes, if you're doing the same on a very weak patient, or the patients who are nearing death or something like this, where it is an emergency, it can produce bad results for us, even although the medicine is right. So footnote to the aphorism 286, it is only the most simple of all stimulants, wine and alcohol, that have their heating and action, intoxicating action diminished by dilution with much water. So he's saying that this kind of this that something's action will be diluted, it can with the water, it can be wine and alcohol, that their action can be diluted. But in the case of medicines, especially when they are prepared in this way, when they are potentized or diluted afterwards, the medicine will be more when we are diluting it with water. So aphorism 287. But in this increase of action by the mixture of the dose of medicine with a larger quantity of liquid before its ingestion, the result is vastly different whether the mixture of the dose of medicine with a certain quantity of liquid is performed merely superficially and imperfectly, or so uniformly and intimately that the smallest portion of the diluting fluid receives the same quantity of medicine in proportion as all the rest. Now, here also Dr. Hahnemann, he gives one more clarity to this, that this increase in the action, like for example, I'm saying that when I put one globule in a glass of water and then I'm giving it for the ingestion. So he's saying that that action or that power, it basically depends on how it is dissolved also. Not only that it is dissolved in a liquid, but how it is dissolved. If it is dissolved superficially and imperfectly, you will not see much of a change, or you will not see that much of a change when it is dissolved uniformly and intimately. So intimately, he will explain in the footnote what does he mean by uniformly and intimately. But yes, he is saying that many doctors may find this kind of difference when they are experiencing or experimenting with this thing, that some of you maybe, some of the physician, they may be dissolving it in a superficial manner or imperfect manner, and it will not produce much of a change. Sorry, like the in the homeopathic aggravation, it might not be much severe because it is superficial and imperfectly dissolved before the ingestion. But it is so uniformly and intimately dissolved, then it can have a stronger medicinal effect on the patient. For the later becomes, later means when it is done uniformly and intimately, for the later becomes much more medicinally powerful by the diluting mixture than the former. So if it is done superficial impact or imperfectly, this dilution is made, it will not be that much powerful as compared to when it is prepared uniformly and intimately. From this, everyone will be able to judge for himself how to proceed with the regulation of homeopathic medicinal doses when he desires to diminish their medicinal action as much as possible in order to make them suitable for the most sensitive patients. Dr. Hahnemann, when he talks about treating the humanity, he talks about each and every patient, even the most sensitive patients, that how he's trying, after writing 285 to 86 aphorisms, giving almost all the um, knowledge he can give how to practice homeopathy, he's still thinking about those few number of patients which are very, very sensitive, who can be very, very sensitive to the action of the medicine, that how we can diminish the medicinal action as much as possible for those sensitive patients, or in the patients who are in a very sensitive stage of their diseases. So when he says curing or treating the ailing humanity, he is thinking about each and everyone. He's not thinking about certain people. He's not even contended that homeopathy should act on, you know some part, and he is contented with that. When he was writing this fifth edition, he might have he must have cured thousands of patients, because to get that kind of vast experience, I was talking a few days back with one of my students regarding the homeopathic camps which we arrange. So we were talking about the prescription, that there are certain, when you're put into certain situations, you start learning how to react quickly. And I was telling them my experience, that these camps have been those situations which have taught me how to see certain things in the patients, how to go for certain questions, and how to prescribe quickly. Because there have been some camps where you have to see more than 200, 300 patients in one sitting. So you have to do it, and you have to do it correctly. Quickly does not mean that it should be incorrect or inaccurate, but you have to find a way where it has to be quick and correct also. So similarly, when Dr. Hahnemann must have seen, you know, thousands of patients in the epidemics, in the acute states, and at those times the acute states were very prominent because it could lead to the death of the patient. There were not those kind of hospitals or medicines which we have today, or those kind of machines which can help the patient to, you know, at that time it would have been so bad. But with that kind of experience and that kind, he was not contented, that I have done enough for the humanity, I have saved so many people, I have found apathy, I have found miasm. But he was still, he had that kind of compassion, he had that kind of heart, that, he was even thinking about those small section of patients who are very sensitive. So here he is talking that, how we can diminute or dilute the medicine even for those sensitive patients. He is going to talk about them, different methods of prescriptions, administering the dose he is going to give in the further coming aphorisms. Here he has started about that thing. So now we will be talking about the word intimately, where Dr. Hahnemann says that, that uniformly and intimately. So in the first aphorism of 287, Dr. Hahnemann says, by the word intimately, I mean this, that when, for instance, the drop of a medicinal fluid has been shaken up once with 100 drops of spirits of wine. So he's saying that, for example, there is one instance, one drop of medicine and 100 drops of alcohol, they are mixed and they are shaken. That is to say, the phial containing both, held in the hand, has been rapidly moved from above downward with a single smart jerk of the arm. There certainly ensues a thorough mixture of the whole. So if you have held the bottle, you have mixed one drop with the 100 drops of one drop of medicine with the 100 drops of alcohol, and you have shaken it strongly once with a single smart jerk of the arm. So it means it has mixed. Okay, it has mixed completely. But with 2, 3, and 10 and more such strokes, this mixture becomes much more intimate. But if you have made more than one stroke, like 2, 3, 10, or much strokes, then that becomes intimate. Then that is a uniform and intimate solution. So here Dr. Hahnemann is basically trying to tell us the difference between mixing the substance and difference between making it more powerful in the form of potency. Okay? There's a difference. One small single jerk, you have mixed it. You have mixed one drop of medicine with the 100 drops of alcohol. But if you go more further, you have been like doing 2, 3, 10, or much strokes, then it becomes intimate and more uniform. And then that is to say, the medicinal power becomes much more potentized. So the potentized, we have increased the potency of the medicine, and the spirit of this medicine, so to speak, becomes much more unfolded, developed, and rendered much more penetrating in its action on the nerves. So when the potency is increasing, when you are increasing the potency, it becomes much developed and more penetrating in its action of the nerves. So here we can, from this part, we can also understand the difference between a large dose and a high potency. Okay? Because Dr. Hahnemann has, like I told you before, that Dr. Hahnemann never said that high potency will give a high homeopathic aggravation. No, he was in favor of high potencies. He wanted to give it in medicine in the high potencies. He also appreciated the work of Dr. Boehringer and the 200 potency. So he was not against the high potency. He was against these large doses. So large doses means you are not making a minimum dose. You are not giving a gentle cure. He has all talked about the bad effects of the large doses. But here he is saying that the more it gets potentized, the more it becomes penetrating. Now, this is a completely different thing. I have talked about this potency in, I think, Thailand and in Brazil also about this thing. I have taken a full lecture of this, that how when the potency is increased, it becomes more penetrating. It goes to the different layers of our this whole part. So the potentized, the more the potency increases, the more it becomes penetrating and its action on the nerves. Okay, so we have to understand these two things. Increased potency means penetrating action. It will act on the more deeper parts of the human economy. Large dose means it is going to produce a large homeopathic aggravation, which will be disserviceable for the patient, which will produce some kind of problems for the patient. So if then the required object we wish to attain with the low dilutions be the diminution of the doses for the purpose of moderating their powers upon the organism, we would do well to give no more than 2 such succussions jerks to each of the 20, 30, etc. dilution files, and thus to develop the medicinal power only moderately. Okay, so if the required object, if we, what is our objective, is to wish to attain with the low dilution. If we have low dilutions and we want to attain more, we want to make the action of the medicine more penetrating, then we should not give more than 2 jerks. He has already told in an earlier aphorism that once you give 2 jerks to a medicine, you have increased the potency. Okay? You have increased the potency to the next potency, thus to develop the medicinal powers only moderately. It is also advisable in attenuating the medicine in the state of dry powder by triturating in a porcelain mortar to keep within certain limits. And for example, to triturate strongly for 1 hour only, once 1 grain of the crude entire medicinal substance mixed with the first 100 grains of milk sugar, and to triturate the attenuation of 1 grain of this mixture with another 100 grains of milk sugar. So like I have talked about this earlier also, when Dr. Hahnemann was giving this example of succussion and how much you have to do it. So he has found a method by which we can understand which potency we are using. Okay. For example, I take a 20 potency and I give it 10 strokes. It will increase the power, but I do not know to which power. And if I keep on giving like every, for example, I have a sulfur in liquid potency, and before giving to a patient, I give it 2 or 3 succussions, or I do it like this, having in my mind that it might have not have mixed well. After 10 or 20 prescriptions of different sulfurs, I don't know where my potency has reached. I started with 200, it might have gone to 300 or 350. I don't know now. So in theory, I am giving 200, but the medicine is acting with a different kind of power. So to make that uniform method, he has given these principles, or he has given a manual how to prepare the medicines. He has given in a more better way in the Materia Medica Pura. Here he has just given an example in this footnote that when you are doing it with dry powder, when you are doing the trituration, so take 1 grain. 1 grain is all, I think, around 6 point something, 6.4 milligrams of this 1 grain of unit. So take 1 grain of the crude entire medicinal substance and then mix with the 100 grains of the milk sugar. You mix it with that, you triturate it for 1 hour. You can triturate it for 2 hours, you can triturate it for 3 hours. It will increase the potency, but by how much we don't know. Okay, so these particular things, this particular method he has given, and as the power increases uniformly, he has given the potencies in the centesimal scale, in the x decimal scale. Okay, so we can confer to our pharmacopoeias for more better information. We can confer with the Materia Medica Pura for the much better understanding of that thing. Okay, and then from this mixture you can take again 1 grain and add this 100 grains to make the second potency in the decimal scale. And then you can do the same thing, taking one from the second potency and adding 100 grain, and then triturate it for 1 hour. And then you have the third attenuation, also by 1 hour of strong trituration of 1 grain of the previous mixture with 100 grains of milk sugar, in order to bring the medicine to such an attenuation that its development of power shall remain moderate. Okay, so he's given a uniform method to develop the power of the medicine, and so that a homeopath knows at what power my medicine is right now. A more exact description of this process will be found in the prefaces to the arsenic and pulsatilla in the Materia Medica Pura. So if you want more exact description, you can consult, you can go and read arsenic and pulsatilla in the Materia Medica Pura. Here he has given a detailed description of this thing. So the action of medicines in the liquid form upon the living human body takes place in such a penetrating manner, spreads out from the point of the sensitive fibers provided with nerves, where to the medicine is first applied with such inconceivable rapidity and so universally through all parts of the living body that this action of the medicine must be denominated a spirit-like, a dynamic virtual action. So Dr. Hahnemann here says that the action of medicine when it is in the liquid form, okay, when it is diluted in something water or in the form of liquid potency in the alcohol. So he's saying that the medicine's action on the human body, especially in the liquid form, it is a very penetrating manner. It has a very, not a strong one, but in a penetrating way. Okay, it goes more deep into the human economy, and then it the way it spreads through the whole fiber, whole this thing. He says that it is like a spirit like action, like a dynamic action you can see happening on the body. It is a very better than the mean to say very better than the orally ingested this solid form like from the globule. So he's saying that it is a more better way. Now many doctors, they take this aphorism 288 to uh, advocate the use of liquid potency, to advocate the use of it in water. Although Dr. Hahnemann in the last aphorism, he has said that it will make the medicine more stronger. So you have to dilute it or you have to do something in that way so that you can have a less medicine for the sensitive. But they don't read to the aphorism. You know, the thing becomes more clear in the aphorism of 288. It is not, Dr. Hahnemann is not advocating the liquid form in the oral manner, but it is especially in the form of vapor. Vapor means through the olfaction, by olfaction and inhalation of medicinal aura. So he is advocating the use of liquid form for the olfaction and inhalation of medicine, not in the oral way, not to put it in the water. And because he has already said that it will have a more stronger action on the body, not penetrating, but a stronger. Okay. Penetrating is different. Potency, high potency in a way. Stronger means large dose. So by olfaction and inhalation of medicinal aura that is always emanating from a globule impregnated with a medicinal fluid in a high development of power and placed dry in a small fire, that the homeopathic remedies act most surely and most powerfully. So he's saying that, you have put the medicine on the globules, you take one globule out of it, you put it on a dry small fire, and then giving it through the inhalation. That is the way the homeopathic remedies act most surely and most powerfully. The homeopathic physician allows the patient to hold the open mouth of fire, first in one nostril, and in act of inspiration draw the air out of it into himself, and then, if it is wished to give a stronger dose, smell in the same manner with the other nostril more or less strongly. So how it is given, that one globule is basically put in the one small fire, and then it is the patient takes it close to its nostril and make a strong inhalation from one nostril, closing one nostril. He makes the inhalation from one nostril strongly, and if the physician feels that this is not the strong enough dose, then he can ask the patient to take the whiff or take one more inspiration from that, inhalation from that, from the another nostril, either less strongly or more strongly or of equal strength. That again goes to the experience, how you are seeing the patient, how much of the medicinal quantity. So here we come to the, like, when your patient is too sensitive or he's in a state of sensitiveness. I had a case, I had a girl who suddenly went into an acute uh, insanity stage. where she got like, she was in a state of stupor or some kind of unconsciousness, and she was scratching her whole body. It is a very sensitive stage. That is a stage where the patient is very sensitive. So at that time, sometimes if you give one globule, you put it on, it can produce uh, aggravations. So in such case, I have used like, just one whiff of this thing, or applying it to the skin, just one rub. He will talk it in the coming aphorisms about that also, rubbing the medicine on the patient, and that have worked wonderfully. Now we usually give globule to the patients. One thing is that it is easy to carry. It will, for example, if you give a liquid to someone, it by the movement or something like this, it is going to get potentized. So in certain patients, when you want that, okay, the potency should not increase, the patients will not understand that, shaking it or this thing might increase the potency. So it is a safe way to give medicine in a globule. Okay. But if you feel that your patient is in a sensitive stage, or is a very sensitive patient, where medicine it acts very strongly. Like recently, I had this lady. She said that whenever I take your medicine, I always give in the minimum smallest possible dose. Whenever I take the medicine, my everything increases. All the symptoms increase. So in such cases, this is the way how you can give the medicine to the patient. Okay, because its strength is very less. It is a very, very minimum dose, and it can affect in the same way as a globule is given to the patient. He, Dr. Hahnemann will talk about this thing. So, according to the strength, it is intended the dose should be. He then corks up the file and replaces it in his pocket case to prevent any misuse of it. So, Dr. Hahnemann is also saying the same thing. So, what does the physician do? He gives that dose, he puts it back in his bag so that the patient does not misuse it. Because the patient, they have this tendency, we have to be very careful with the patients. The patients, when they are not in their stage of health, they are always kind of, they want to be dependent upon medicine. So to prevent the misuse of it, and unless he wish it, he has no occasion for an apothecary's assistance in his practice. So even in that thing, that apothecary is the person who makes the medicines. So he also wishes that, this my patient, he does not go to the some chemist or something and get the medicine and starts taking on himself, so that he ruins his health. And this is the thing which happens with the patients. Many patients or many students, they ask me that, why don't you tell the name of the medicine? This is the reason why we don't tell the name of the medicine, because there is a chance that the patient, even the doctor, even if he or she is a doctor, there will be a chance that, they can overuse the medicine, and thus affecting their own health. They can take a stronger dose of the medicine, which can affect their health, because if your medicine is right, it is going to produce a more stronger primary aggravation if taken in large dose. Uh, so in this aphorism, Dr. Hahnemann is also saying that a physician should not give the medicine in the hand of the patient, so that he does not misuse it. He had so much concern. Again, I'm coming to that part. He had so much concern for the patients, that he will not give the medicine to the patient like this, so that they don't misuse it. That was also in his mind, and he found it important to write it down. A globule of which 10, 20, or 100 weigh 1 grain, impregnated with a 30th potentized dilution, and then dried, retains for this purpose all its power undiminished for at least 18 or 20 years. So Dr. Neme is saying that if a globule of that much of weight is potentized with 30th of potency, okay, and it is corked, the bottle is corked, it will have the power, it will uh, retain the power of that particular potency for 18 or 20 years. Then in bracket he says, my experience extends this length of time. Although in his own experience, that medicines have stayed potent even beyond this time. And I would like to add in this thing that in my experience, it is still much, much way beyond of this time, because I have medicine, although I keep them at home, I am not keeping them in clinic, but I keep at home medicines of my grandfather, which I think he might have prepared in 1930s or 40s. This is my personal experience, which he might have prepared around that time, I think 1940s or 50s, which so we are into 26, so it has been like more than 70 years. And whenever I prescribe to some, because I use it on my family members, on myself, or someone who's close to us, I use those medicines for them. And whenever I give the medicine and the medicine is right, it produces excellent effects. So in my experience, if the medicine is formed in this way, in the form of globule, and you have kept it, and I don't know how much long this will keep on working, but they're still working. They're still working in the same manner with the same power. Even though the file be opened 1,000 times, even if you have opened the file 1,000 times, but if it is protected from the heat and sun's light, the power will be there. It will remain with the same power. So that is the beauty of the homeopathic medicines, the way they are formed, the way they retain their strength, the way they transfer their strength to the patients. Should both nostrils be stopped up by the coryza or polypus, the patient should inhale by the mouth, holding the orifice of the phial between his lips. If the nostrils are blocked, they are obstructed, coryza with polypus, then the patient can inhale through the mouth. In little children, it may be applied close to their nostrils whilst they are asleep with the certainty of producing an effect. In small children, when they are sleeping, you can take it near their nose and let them take it. The medicinal aura thus inhaled comes in contact with the nerves in the walls of the spacious cavities it traverses without obstruction, and thus produces a salutary influence on the vital force in the mildest yet most powerful manner. And this is much preferable to every other mode of administering the medicament in substance by the mouth. So he's saying that this is the much, much better, it is a much, much preferable way of giving the medicine rather than giving the mouth. So he has decreased furthermore the dose. First, he decreased from 1 drop to its 300th part. Now, by olfaction or inhalation, he has decreased it to much, much lesser degree. So you can use any method. Dr. Henneman said this is the most preferable method, the olfaction. All that homeopathy is capable of curing, and what can it not cure beyond the domain of mere manual surgical affections? Very beautiful line. I think that sums up the scope of homeopathy. The people who talk about what homeopathy can cure, what the homeopathy cannot cure, this line sums up all that homeopathy is capable of curing. Whatever homeopathy is capable of curing, and what can it not cure beyond the domain of mere manual surgical affections. So, where the surgery is very necessary, according to Dr. Hahnemann, he has already mentioned in the previous aphorism where the surgery is mandatory, like when the bone is fractured, when there is some foreign article which has gone inside, or in cases of, for example, there is some atresia, a normal opening has not formed. In those cases, surgery can be done. But beyond that, Dr. Hahnemann said that homeopathy is capable of curing anything. So all that homeopathy is capable of curing, and what can it not cure beyond the domain of mere manual surgical affections? Among the most severe chronic diseases that have not been quite ruined by allopathy, as also among acute diseases, will be most safely and certainly cured by this olfaction. So anything which is homeopathy is capable of beyond the surgical things, or by beyond those certain cases where allopathy has ruined, the medicinal disease has become much stronger, the chronic diseases, the acute diseases. He's saying that safely and certainly can be cured with this method of olfaction. I can scarcely name 1 in 100 out of many patients that have sought the advice of myself and my assistant during the past year whose chronic or acute diseases we have not treated with the most happy results solely by means of this olfaction. So he's saying out of 100 there might be one patient who was not cured by or who do not uh, felt better by this method, but all the patients in this past year we have given olfaction and everyone is getting better. During the later half of this year, moreover, I have become convinced of what I never could previously have believed, that by this olfaction, the power of the medicine is exercised upon the patient in at least the same degree of strength, and that more quietly, yet just as long as when the dose of medicine is taken by the mouth. So, saying that in the past half year, he has become so convinced, and he did not used to believe this thing earlier, but the more he experienced with it, the more he experimented with it, he says that with the olfaction the same strength of power is given to the patient as is given by the medicine when it is taken orally, but in a more subtle manner, in a more mild manner. Means the aggravation is very less or bare minimum, and that consequently the intervals at which the olfaction should be repeated should not be shorter than in the ingestion of the material dose by the mouth. Okay, just that the repetition should be done the same way. The interval of the repetition should not be longer than the medicine given in by the mouth. If it is okay, then it can produce the equal strength. The medicine has the equal strength in the action as given by the olfaction as it is given by the mouth, but in a more milder manner, in a more gentle way. The aphorism too. So his whole life he is trying to make it more gentle, and more gentle. So we'll, I think, do aphorism 289 in the next one, because now I have to go somewhere. So we'll take it up from here, and maybe in next one we will finish our organ. So any questions regarding anything, uh, we welcome. We will be happy to explain if there is any kind of doubt anywhere, any kind of thing you want to repeat about something, we can talk about it. So this is the beauty of homeopathy, which is described in these aphorisms of Organon, which Dr. Hahnemann has taken so much pain experimenting, devoting his time, devoting his life to. And I think we should understand the wisdom which is written here and try to apply for the benefit of our patients. So, with that, I will take your leave. Thank you and a very good night.